Welcome for another episode of the podcast where we look beyond the wheel of the consensus knowledge and narrative to understand more of this world, and with the intention to expand our mind, our thinking, our consciousness and well-being, and to become the driver of our life. And it's a true pleasure to have Kurt with us, who is an absolute genius. We just know each other for 2 weeks, and I couldn't better describe it as it was a coincidence, or it was supposed to be happen. I don't know. And to give you a little bit of context, I had a motorbike accident 17 years ago. I had 7-8 surgeries on my leg and knee. I went over those 70 years continuously to therapies, clinics. There was a year with sticks where I couldn't walk. And then I bumped into him, and it was the first time in 17 years that everything felt smooth and normal. And we just had an amazing conversation at the same time. It was a unique perspective from, let's call it, outside mainstream, and then also compared with such a humbleness and positivity and lightness that I was asking you if you would be up to join for a conversation to make you share your wisdom, your expertise with the world, and also learn a little bit more about what you do and where you are right now in life. And I was researching a little bit about you, and I would like, before we talk about what's Myoreflex. Yes. Before we talk about that, I would love to hear a little bit about your personal background, because I read that you grew up in a dream world of philosophy and nature, and that intrigued me so much to hear a little bit about your personal story, which brought you where you are right now. And it would be amazing to hear a little bit.
Thanks a lot, and it was a pleasure to meet you. And so it was like, for us, we do not focus on a disease. We do not focus on handicaps. We focus on your system behind. So then as an athlete, you're used to use your neuromuscular system. And then we had to look what different type of compensation had happened. So I tried to look at you, but not just in that moment, but to get another picture, things which happened in the past. And from our point of view, our organism is brilliant, smart, and always tries to do the best. But sometimes, so people have the idea, oh, we have to attack the symptom. But if we attack the symptom, in the end, we attack you. But if we take it over, we are able to support you in overcoming the problem. And then, so we are interested to support you in synchronization. And that happened. So that happened pretty fast, because it was related that you have been very open, you have been very reflected, so you opened up and your body listened, and then your organism realized, oh my God, it's a good chance. Now we obviously have the chance to change, and then it happened in you. So I just inspired your organism to reorganize, to reprogram, and to remember how it has been organized. So the Myoreflex concept has been created in small steps. Our father was sitting in a wheelchair. He had an accident in 1951. He had a whiplash trauma, complex whiplash trauma. Afterwards, he developed chronic pain, and so diagnosed at multiple sclerosis. And then he spent 24 years in a wheelchair. But he was an electro engineer, a philosopher, and my brother, he is a philosopher, real one. And so he's in the field in between literature and psychology. And he helps us to reflect what we do. And then, because of the bad behavior which we experienced to our pa, because it was in the clinic, they attacked the disease, they attacked the symptoms, they attacked the pain, but it got worse. But it's not just our pa who developed worse, all the clients we've seen in these clinics. So it was miserable. So, and then we tried to look not just in the detail of a disease, but to look at the surrounding. And there's a nice man in mathematics, Spencer Brown. Spencer Brown talked about selective blindness. So if the observer defines a spot to describe maybe the disease or the gene or the molecule, it's nice to have. So, but if it excludes the unmarked space, so then we are not able to understand the gene or the disease. So we need, so the specific part, the marked space, but we need the other part as well, which means the story, biography. And in the biography of our pa, he lost his twin. Name was Kurt Mosetter. He was shot by an SS officer. And obviously that has been the first traumatic experience. Second traumatic experience, the accident. And then a genius man in Freiburg, Walter Packi, and another orthopedic doctor, Tilman Görtler, they looked at him and they diagnosed, oh, there has been an accident. And they looked at him in 1987 and they diagnosed the accident. So I asked, why are you able to do this? And then they explained, and then I wanna be your student. And then they explained that, then you have to study medicine. I said, yeah, I do that if you accept me as your student every day. And so that was another view on the world with the neuromuscular system and the joints. And at the same time, I was interested in what is the view on the world of Chinese medicine and Ayurvedic medicine. And they looked at the unmarked space. They have been not interested at all at the pain or at the virus or the gene, because they explained, listen, the environment and is activating and switching the gene on or off. Imagine these people, which we talked about alternative medicine, they explained 40 years ago everything about epigenetics and everything about epigenetic reprogramming. And they talked about repair. And they said, so yeah, we have to support the organism to repair itself. So I said, oh, nice. But if that would be the right pathway, we should know that in the Western countries, in our scientific world. But then he looked at me, poor guy. So what you define as scientific approach is just a very short part out of the world. But the bad part, if you define science and exclude everything else, that's not correct, because you defined what science is, and then you looked at it, and then you excluded everything else. So you will never be able to understand autoimmune disease. You will never be able to understand cancer if you attack it. You should know how it developed. And that was the approach. And so I had excellent teachers. And then from these orthopedic teachers and Walter Packi, biochemistry, so we met Gottfried Fischer, and he created a field of psychodrama and so clinical psychology, and that biography and things from the past and life event have very much influence on what happens. That was also the field of psychoneuroimmunology. And so then he asked me one day, Kurt, you do sessions with your pa, what do you do? And I said, I don't know exactly, but so I work on his neuromuscular system. And then he explained, are there any other problems in your family? I said, no, so he had this accident. I said, yeah, does he, any other problem? Maybe a brother? Yes. What happened to the brother? Yeah, he was shot. Aha. So, and then I made my dissertation on him. And so we developed the field of psychotrauma. And then to understand, so if something happens, your body is not able to act, not able to escape, not able to fight, and then you feel weak. But then to survive, you have to compensate. But then there's tension, then there's a hyperarousal, but in the end, people are not able to sleep. And then if the tension is always there, you develop pain. And so that's the model of compensation mechanism. And so step by step, I did sessions on my pa, and I was supported by my teachers. And after 1.5 years doing a session on him every day, he learned to walk again after 36 years being immobilized.
That's incredible.
And that was a gift for him, but even more for me.
Yeah.
So if this is possible, so it's worth to explore this. And so that was the birth of the development of Myoreflex, But then from that field, another field has been nutrition, because our pa had the food of Western price, so anthroposophic food, natural food, and we didn't understand what he did, and it did not cure him, but in the end, it helped that his body was able to respond on our session. And then we realized, oh, it's more complex. And then there was a big step, so in science, because a friend of him from a small town in Black Forest, Werner Reuter, so his father wanted him to get a tailor, but so he was not very gifted in doing that. So he studied medicine. My pa supported him to study medicine.
Yeah.
And then he studied biochemistry. He tried everything to help our pa, but it failed. He went to Charité, and he's the director. He has been the director in the field of in glycobiology, molecular biology, and biochemistry. But when my pa worked again, he said, Kurt, whatever you do, I will support you. So yes, I have many ideas. I have all these plants from Nepal and Sikkim. I want to do the research in the cell culture. I'm interested in a repair mechanism. Said, yeah, I don't know much about it, but let's do it. So I took the reishi, Ganoderma lucidum, and I took galactose, and then we started up the research. So that was the interesting part, that metabolism so is related to our organism, and that metabolism so is very important. So if there is an inflammation, high in sugar, so then the recovery is hard to get. But so if you are low in sugar, natural eating, so because sugar is toxic very often, fructose also is toxic food about sugar, so we explored that. Then we put these herbs on our clients, Ganoderma lucidum and galactose, and we've seen the results. Oh my God. So, and then I asked him, listen, I want to do research. We need to know the molecular mechanism. And then we had that idea of Bruce Lipton with the mice. And then we took the idea and they said, so if we are able to induce a knockout of insulin receptor, so if we change food and nutrition, we should be able to help them to recover, and it happened. So this is
maybe just as for everyone who is listening, Bruce Lipton was the one who discovered epigenetics, right? I think he's stating that 1% or less of disease is genetically like a result of genes, and 90+% is epigenetics, your environment, and so you kind of like brought that to the next level, and had amazing results, right?
Yes. And then we changed food and nutrition in Alzheimer clients, in clients with chronic pain, clients with autoimmune disease, especially multiple sclerosis, and then in Parkinson's disease. And then we've seen, oh yes, it's related to inflammation, it's related to sugar metabolism. And then so we got very good support by Siegfried Heuer. He has been at the university in Heidelberg, and he made experiments, so how to induce diabetes type 2. But then he had the idea to knock out an insulin receptor in brain, and then he created a model of diabetes type 3, so Alzheimer, in many cases, so is a disease of insulin-resistant brain. And then we took that concept, we took his model, and then we did this in Zagreb and in Berlin. It was a knockout of insulin receptor, and then the animals, the rat 3-month and 8-month-old, they lost orientation, they didn't find the platform, they developed tremor and all that. And then we had 4 groups, and then we did the knockout of insulin receptor, and then we put them on another food for 4 weeks, and they all recovered. All of them fully recovered. And when we couldn't believe we didn't.
That's amazing. Yeah.
We did again. And then Melita Salkovic, the director of the Brain Research Lab in Zagreb, said, Kurt, do you really believe that this will happen? I said, yeah, I trust. Then let's do it. And I said, I cannot believe we did it again and again. And so we have been so overwhelmed, and we have been proud. Yes, that's it. So now that's a concept. So that sugar metabolism and insulin resistance so is very important to understand. And then early prevention should be possible. And then we wanted to publish the paper, like you explained. So we had the result in 2006, but so nobody was interested in it. And then it was neglected.
Why was that? Wow.
So I guess so. It's too easy. It's too simple to reduce a complex disease. When other companies developed drugs against, they all failed. The vaccination failed, and after that failed in 2013, finally it was accepted in the Journal of Neuropharmacology. And after that years, the group continued the work, and now they've shown, yeah, galactose, it's a monosaccharide, it's in a mistletoe from Rudolf Steiner, but it's also in the myobalan, that's the holy plant of medicine Buddha, that galactose is able to repair, so, and to overcome insulin signaling and to repair the mechanism. And they've shown, yeah, so it helps to induce a gene for glucose 3 transporter, and then the sugar can be used again. And they've shown that glucagon-like peptide is synthesized and boosted, and then mechanism to repair. So it's interesting, and we will.
If I'm understanding it right, you basically can reverse Alzheimer's.
Not in all cases,
Yeah.
but in early cases. But so with this concept of food and nutrition, environment is so important. Chronic stress, of course, has an impact, but then food and nutrition, and then being immobilized. So one hit will not be enough, but being immobilized and then have toxic substance in your body, and then sugar metabolism running out of control. So then related to a genetic impact, some people will develop Alzheimer's, some other Parkinson's, some other multiple sclerosis, maybe cancer. So, but the roots of the disease is the environment. So it's like the trees and plants, they're related to the roots and the earth. So, and if we are able to clear the earth in early prevention, we should be able to do something that the disease will not happen. So our hope is pre-emptying the disease, like prophylaxis and prevention.
And like since you having finally published that as a paper, like, do you see it as that like is being picked up by doctors, practices, clinics, or is this something which like still is not very much available to?
I wonder, because so there has been many other groups like Melita Salkovic in Zagreb, Riederer in Würzburg, and then Susanne de la Monte in Rhode Island. So if you look for that, so diabetes type 3, insulin-resistant brain, there are many groups. So, but so it's not that you that this is the point to develop a drug, a medication. It's supporting lifestyle, and nobody supported that part. I think it will be more of interest within the next years, because also the liver, insulin-resistant liver and fatty liver disease, that's another state which hits the brain. And so more and more people will develop this autoimmune disease and Parkinson's and Alzheimer's, and not because they are getting older. Unfortunately, many of them are 40 and 45 and 50 years old. So it's going to hit people not in the late life, but earlier. And I hope, so there are some groups which are more interested. Right now, even the Max Planck doing Parkinson's disease research, they contacted us to do research related to food and nutrition, microbiome, gut, because that's the gut-brain axis. So, and also mitochondria. So for future direction, I have some hope.
Yeah. Okay, that's amazing. Like, I totally agree to hope from my personal experience, like having a lot of like being obsessed with health and fitness myself, in addition to having kind of like a lot of different therapies over the years. Like majority, if not all, of like what I was exposed to in conventional medicine was very much about looking at the symptom or taking a body part and trying to fix it, but not looking at the body or maybe even the environment as a holistic thing, and really digging out the underlying cause, and also like being informed a bit better than I was originally about nutrition, stress, like sleep, maybe exercise. No, those, like, we live in a society where basically everybody lacks like at least the basic information of what our body needs to thrive. And when I met you and also started reading a little bit, like you're kind of like integrating so many different approaches and views into like something very holistic, right?
Yeah, and I had really, I'm very thankful, grateful to get excellent teachers. So we had this Werner Reuter at the Charité with the biochemistry. At the other part of the street, there was a very famous professor, Dieter Felsenberg. Dieter Felsenberg, he's a brilliant man in muscle research, and he did all the research on muscle-bone interaction. He was the director of the European Space Agency. And he had the concept, oh, the bone is a living substance. It's not like glass or glass or ice, because that has a high density, it will break. We need not a high density, we need elasticity. And so the bone is constructed like an airplane or a zeppelin. So, but some people had the idea, oh, the higher the density, the better the bone. That's wrong. So what we need is the muscle. So European research and European Space Agency, muscle research at the Charité, bone research found you have to train. We have to train our muscle. And Dieter Felsenberg stated it's never too late. Even this sarcopenia, which getting older, so you go to lose parts of your muscle, we are able to handle that. So minimum to being 100 years old. He stated like Methuselah, maybe 120 years, but we have to train, we have to do it. And so that fit to my approach with the muscle, and that fit to the approach with training. But then it was the question, what kind of training? And for the astronauts, they created a training, it's called Galileo. That's an alternate vibrating platform.
Yeah.
And in a short period of time, you can do a 3,000 or 5,000 meters run, even with people who are not able to do it, because you can put them on a bench, lying on the bench, so the platform is activate them, and that is a key to gain back. So the competence to move in people who lost it, elderly people, osteoporosis, but also Parkinson's disease, Alzheimer's disease. They have to train, but they are not able to do it. And then we did the research, and then suddenly it came up, so that what my teachers explained in Asia, Dr. Mana, Dr. Yeshi Dondon, Barry Clark, they stated, listen, Kurt, your muscle system is a huge gland. So I said, oh no, I don't believe.
That's what I heard the first time when we had the conversation.
And then they kicked me out of the office, but I came back. And then they said, yeah, you're typical Western arrogance, but yeah, you're not too bad. And then they explained, listen, so it's not about the virus. So it's about the immune system. I said, but we should know that. Yeah, you don't know anything in Western countries. You are focused on the disease, not focused on the. So I didn't believe, and I was kicked out of the office. So but anyhow, somehow I believed. Of course, I didn't believe all of it. But then in 2010, they started to find so-called myokines, which means hormones which are produced by the muscle. First 3, and 10, and 20, and 30. But then 600, 3,000 myokines. And these myokines, they are hormones which are produced from the muscle. And they are good for everything. Like my teacher stated, now it's accepted science. They induce your brain to get another plasticity. They even induce the birth of new neurons. So glia-derived neurotrophic factor, brain-derived neurotrophic factor are produced if you move your muscle. And then it's balancing fatty acids, it's balancing the liver, it's good for the bone, it's activating repair of the muscle, but it's boosting the immune system as well. So there was another question. Yes, there is interleukin 6 and 7, but especially interleukin 15, boosting natural killer cells. So if you live in an active lifestyle, if you train your muscle, so then your system is able to produce these hormones, and they are good for everything, but they boost the immune system. Then you're high in natural killer cells. Then you're high in T lymphocytes. So, but if you're immobilized, if you do not do any sports, if you're immobilized, they will decrease. But if they decrease, so then the window is wide open to suffer a virus. In addition, So if you do not move, if you do not do exercise, being immobilized, and if you have the wrong food in addition, like sugar, insulin resistance, then it will hit you. And for that reason, that was what so our point of interest. So do exercise, be a little hungry, exercise, natural eating, and that's chrono exercise and chrono nutrition. That's good for almost everything.
Is there like a minimum dose in terms of exercise, or a specific kind of
Yeah,
exercise you would recommend? Or is it intermittent movement, or is it
yeah.
like high intensity, or?
Yeah, it's interesting. It's so first everybody talked about you should do like an empty stomach run, so aerobic exercise. Indeed, that's important. You can also do high intensity training. If you do a high intensity training, so the stimulation of interleukin 15 is very high. But you should also do not just high intensity, but also to increase range of motion. And that was another key in our concept, not just to work on myoreflex, on that muscles which are too short, like iliopsoas, pectoralis, but to open them up and then to act them in lengthened position, and then in lengthened position to do an active stretch. So active stretch means so against resistance. So, and then the whole thing, wide range of motion, is activated, and then the fibroblasts and the sarcomeres are going serious. So the whole thing is getting longer. And that kind of exercise is going to stimulate other types of myokines like fibroblastic growth factors. So if you have a kind of different types of training, high intensity, running, and active stretch, I think that's the key, the diversity of different exercise. And then, so if you like to do the one part, do it, but to balance it, do another stretch. If somebody is doing stretching, nice, but then you should do a little high intensity. And so that's the question of balance.
Okay.
Also yoga, Tai Chi, whatever you like.
Thank you so much. And when you just said, I mean, movement is important. I mean, first of all, like, at least that was what I was told when I had my surgeries. You need to rest.
Yeah.
Yeah. And like when I had the biceps tendon rupture 2 years ago, I think 1 week after the surgery, I was training, like very limited, but I was training. I mean, I didn't follow the official advice. But I had someone who advised me, so I was confident that it was. And instead of having a 3 to 6 months recovery, it was basically like 1 to 3 months until I had strength without like the full maybe usage yet. But like also then just looking back at what's happening during the lockdown, and knowing about the importance of movement, or potentially and also being outside, getting sun, and also what you mentioned before, like epigenetics, also in terms of what we're confronted in terms of communication, fear inducing. I mean, it's like, what's your view on that? It's just like most probably not really a very beneficial environment to have a strong immune system.
Yes. And being immobilized is hitting the system, and then being immobilized, so with anxieties and fear, so that's the part, the posture of anxiety and fear, you cannot do anything. Then the tonus of the muscle is rising, and then it's creating a stiffness, and then the tonic muscles like tensor, abdominals, psoas is getting shorter. And then you're in that position. And then being immobilized for a longer period of time after surgery, but being immobilized psychologically, so it's causing the same problem. So then the fascia is losing the capacity for elasticity, less elasticity, the tightness. Then the fascia is increasing with the thickness, and then so they start to produce inflammatory cytokines. And for that reason, being immobilized, that's the worst. In accidents, in sports, even after rupture of anterior cruciate or posterior cruciate, we start to work on them the same day. We try to get them out of the pattern. Of course, I do not push the anterior cruciate. So, but everything beside that, I try to get him out of the pattern of accident, out of the pattern of fear, anxiety, and then to open it up. Then, so it will open up to cure and to heal in the perfect modus. And even in players with a complete rupture in posterior crucial, there was a famous player who originally was in Salisbury, and then I started to work on him end of December. And then we worked on him. We looked at the MRI every 6 days. He fully recovered. And after 2 months, he started in the training with the team. And after 10, 11 weeks, he scored. So
Wow.
not 8 weeks being mobilized with, I said, that's hard to believe, but it's, you have to work on it every day. But it's not that I work on his muscle. He has to do the exercise.
Okay.
Yeah, that's it.
Important.
Yeah. I have to train the weakest part. So
Yeah.
if I train that one, which is already strong, that's good for nothing. But after an accident, there are many weak parts. In traumatic stress, it's like a neuromuscular pandemia with corona. So it's a neuromuscular pandemia, so that they are tied. So, and that's hard to get the right air in, that all the muscles for inhaling, like diaphragm, are stressed, the neck is stressed. And then they're immobilized, and they develop different types of pain, headache, neck pain, and back pain. And but suffering pain, suffering anxieties, being immobilized, so that's the worst which can happen. So we have to help the people do exercise, even in your living room, even on the toilet, do some exercise. Try to do some sit-ups, try to do some knee benches, whatever. But so to do at minimum some exercise. And we should explain people in future direction at school how important it is to help the neuromuscular system. We protect our teeth for caries in cleaning, and we should work our so cultivate our muscle, so to cultivate the brain and the immune system. So we should know about the importance, and that's our mission, to how to inspire people to train, realize, yeah, it's so important, you can do a lot, and it's one important thing which are in your hands to do something which will be very helpful for the rest of your life. It's like a bank account. And then you can invest with exercise, you can invest with food and nutrition. So, and if the bank account is nice, no problem, get 120 years old. But if you waste it all, so then it's getting harder.
That's an amazing mission. But then, like, it's also very different to the conventional medicine mission, I would suggest, because you're working on like losing your clients, right?
So hopefully, because that's our that would be the best. And for that reason, treatment has directly to be connected to training. And in you, I've seen, you're perfect trained. So, and then I realized, if I open the brake, you will use the body and you will do it. For that reason, I did not focus on the pain. I focused on your system. So less sessions. And that's our concept. And for future direction, so we do not see, so we do not feel to be an alternative medicine. No, this is scientific medicine. And for that reason, so we are connected to the Sigmund Freud University in Vienna, and it's an institute for chronomedicine, chrono exercise, chrono nutrition. They have different disciplines like medicine and dentist, but they also have sports. And in between, so we will teach at the Sigmund Freud University. And the other part, for all people who are looking at this, there's a nice homepage. It's called Myoreflex Review. Myoreflex Review is situated in Norway. And it's the NEL, N-E-L. That's so the big institute which is responsible for education of all practitioners, medical doctors, but also physical therapists. And Bendik Johannessen, he's a brilliant physical therapist and a scientist, and he created a 3-dimensional model of our body. So with the muscle, but not the muscle like one muscle, so focus on it, but it's the whole thing. It's the myofascial lines. But these myofascial lines are not like a map. So maybe if you have a map of a nice map of maybe Lake Constance, it's nice to have, but you have to to be there, because to live in the landscape is different than being reduced on the map. And so my reflex review focus on exercise, three-dimensional, and it's not a muscle, it's not a fascia, it's dynamins, dynamic components between muscle, ligaments, and fascia, and then you can train it. And the three-dimensional pattern, you look at it, and then you see, oh my God, of course, there is a pain at the tendon of Achilles, but the reason is the back. Or, oh, there's a hernia, but so the corsicine in the front line.
You can see all the interconnectedness.
Yes. And then you see the lines,
parts.
lines, exercise, active stretch exercise. And then it's an excellent homepage, and that we use in the Scandinavian countries to teach. And that's all in English, and the other parts in Norwegian. But in Norway and Sweden and Finland and Denmark, so it's well established. And now it's translated to Germany. It's called Deximed. And it's organized in 24 seconds approach for practitioners. So if my clients have that problem, what can I do? You can do a surgery, yeah. You can do an injection, yes. But you can do exercise. After an accident, sometimes you need a surgery. But in many, so if maybe in a knee pain, but after an accident, doing a knee pain is fine. But if people have a knee pain, you should not necessarily do an operation. So we should realize, where does it come from? What is wrong with me? When did it start? What is the story? And if you're able to understand the story, then the picture is there. And then it's a living landscape.
That's amazing. And I'm also curious because like what I understand from you and what I witnessed, it's basically looking at this at the cause, fixing it in a holistic manner, so that I don't need to come back. Yeah, but then like conventionally, like it's more about fixing the symptoms, and then there is most probably also a certain incentivation, a way to maybe not solve the underlying cause, but kind of like generate revenues for some time by treating or managing a disease. I don't know what's your take on that, but also I'm curious, like, have you been facing resistance from maybe like, let's call it more conventional approaches? Was that something you like you like created like easily, or was there like challenges to overcome, like facing, I don't know if there's an establishment, or like if that's like a right word to use or not?
Yeah, in the beginning, no problem, because then everybody said he's crazy. That's craziness. And so it's nice to be crazy. So like a shaman told me, listen, if you are able to decide to be a little crazy, to be a little beside of yourself, then you can observe yourself. So it's nice to be a little crazy. But so nobody looked at me. So it was so small world. But then, so we developed. And then later on, of course, we got some resistance. Then I said, oh, he's crazy. He is fooling you. It's all bullshit. What this with this muscle? Because until now, there's not a medical doctor with on focus on discipline of the muscle. But we need that functional medicine. And so we got some attacks. But so thankfully, so now many people started to cooperate, and we realized we need an ambassador. And a good ambassador is professional sports. So I had, again, good luck to cooperate with the hockey national team in Germany. So with the coach Bernhard Peters, and they won almost everything, Olympic Games and World Cup 2 times. They even defended the World Cup in 2006. And then the hockeys changed food and nutrition. We kicked out so all this bad food and this processed food. We kicked out bad carbs. And then, so 50% of the women changed, and they increased. Then all of them changed. They got better. Then 50% of the young men changed, and then they did everything. And then we had Hoffenheim, third league, second league, first league with Ralf Rangnick. They said, Kurt, yeah, you're welcome to integrate this. And I did. So then I did it with Leipzig in 2012 and 2015. We looked for the gut, we looked for food and nutrition, we kicked out bad carbs, we looked for lifestyle, so mindfulness, sleep, and then so also different types of training, prevention, and we had amazing results. So in one season, we had around in between 800 and 1,000 less days of injury in one season comparable to other
I guess
clubs.
that's statistically significant.
I will send it to you. So now the good thing is now all medical doctors, so it's a kind of friendship. We join together, different people in different clubs. And now, so this is accepted. And all other doctors are more interested. Like you've seen in Paramed, I'm very happy to have these good doctors beside me, like Simon Feldhaus, who is doing the gut and oxidative stress and lab. And then Volker Schmiedl, who is focused on omega-3, and then have Hans Okal, who is specialized on pain and acupuncture, and physical therapists. If you ask me, physical therapists, they are like the psychologists of people in sports. They touch, they feel, and they work on you, and it's a non-verbal dialogue, and they are great. And I'm interested to get more people out of that field, to educate them and to spread it. And I think it's a good moment. It's a good time. My teachers have been born too early. They have been brilliant, but they had too much resistance. And so we are in a lucky time. So yeah, it's good luck that now it's the consciousness is more open, and this is not like alternative medicine. This is real science. Biochemistry, molecular biology, epigenetics, neuromuscular work, then science in training. Also some groups in Austria who are very, very advanced in long distance running and in biking and in all of that. So we join together because now we learn from each other. And that's the key. So I think I'm not that bad, but so I'm not good enough. So we have to join together. We have to learn from each other. We should join together with experts. And in the concept of the Scandinavian countries, it's for medical doctors a platform, 24 seconds, what can I do? But the same 24 hours, the information for the client. What is wrong with me? What can I do? And then it's shared decision. So medical doctor and the client, they exchange knowledge, and then they decide what to do. But then it's not the doctor who is telling you, you have to take that drug. So then you decide, yeah, I do some exercise. And the same for physical therapists. And in the next part for sports, we will go so far that the page, like you will see, Myoreflex review, is open to athletes. Because if they look at it, they see it and say, oh my God, these injuries from 3 years ago and last year and that what I have today, it's connected. So, and if I look for the weak part in beginning, if I understand the compensation, then I understand and I can do something. And that's it, to educate people, because nobody knows your body better than you. So I have to listen. And so we need so many experts joining together, and that will make the world better.
Oh yeah, so I took quite a few very insightful things. So basically, you're saying it's not competition; it's cooperation.
Yes.
Yeah, and really about also empowering the patient or the client instead of being let's call it like having this authority figure which is telling you what's the truth or not, and then like you're there just taking it in and
it's called
receiving the information instead of really thinking about or taking responsibility for your circumstances. And that connects so well with this like research from Bruce Lipton, that struck when I heard about it the first time. It's really about like learning or discovering that we have everything inside us,
and he's a real pioneer. It's amazing. Imagine when he talked about the brain of the cell. That's not the gene, that's the cell membrane, because that they organize the communication in between the outside world and inside world. So then it's epigenetics, that it's the environment. And he was so brilliant in these early days, and still today, whatever he says, yes.
Do you still listen to?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah,
of course. He's some amazing talks.
Yeah. I couldn't agree more. And I mean, now, yeah, you already mentioned you work with very successful, like professional athletes. I think Jürgen Klinsmann, you also worked with, right?
Yes,
And
so also
and
I was also responsible for the US national team between 2011 and 2016, also with the World Cup. So, but from all the beginning, there was another question. So we realized professional sports is a nice ambassador. So,
yeah,
but these ambassadors are good to inspire kids. And if they see all these professional athletes, and if I give them maybe the food and nutrition for metabolic learning of Semi Khedira or somebody else, they do it. And there is 100, let's say 95% compliance. And but I'm interested in real people. I'm not good so sitting on a bench of a professional soccer club and
that's
waiting that an injury happens.
uh,
So the others are better in that. So, but to develop concepts and to educate people, to inspire physical therapists, to get a bigger network like Sigmund Freud universities, like that people in Norway, and then they be created. That was a hard resistance. It's called a Bachelor and Master for Medical Administration at the, so it's a Fachhochschule in Bielefeld, and it's like a university, but it's not the, so the Type 1 university. So, and it's called micronutrition and regulation in medicine. And we go to teach epigenetics, omega-3, micronutrition, macronutrition, and it's certified and fully accepted. So to do it, and step by step, it's getting more popular. Step by step, it's getting more accepted in the mainstream, and step by step. So it's like a process of growing, and we do not hit maybe another mainstream which has been organized since years. So being smart means go around that.
yeah. I mean, like, I'm very much impressed or curious to hear because, yeah, as you said, you work and you just shared a bit of your mission or vision, and it's really inspiring because I guess on the one hand, like you would not have the need anymore to maybe like whatever like treat normal patients.
Yeah.
But when I met you, there was like so much like joy, like
Yeah.
and excitement still there. So it made me really curious. On the one hand, like why you still do that, but then also what's your recipe to
Mm.
like to like have this fulfillment and passion.
Yeah, I love it because it's kind of an inner mission. It was a gift to experience what happened to my pa and to overcome this incurable disease. And then it was a gift to get supported by so many teachers. But having the gift, you have to use it. So, and
Mm.
then for that day when we met in Pyramid,
Yeah.
I had, I think, around 10 children, handicapped
Oh,
children and children with autoimmune disease and delayed in development, and I love them, also autistic children.
yeah.
And so getting the children, so inspiring them, touching them, so in a going another direction of food and nutrition, inspiring them to do exercise, that's just a gift. Because then some people, if they invest, maybe they can harvest in 20 or 30 years. So, but working on these children, so it's a harvest every day. They're so happy. I feel happy. And I think it's a question of joy. And when I was, before I started studying medicine, I wanted to go to Tibet to do
Yeah.
meditation on top of the mountain in the monastery. But then two monks, first the Dalai Lama's so doctor, but then another monk in Rumtek, he told me, listen, Kurt, very nice. You meditated lifelong, but now you go back to Germany, go back to Europe. You've been born in that country, practice this in your daily life, and now you go to study medicine. I said, oh, no, my God. So, because I suffered a little, it's called spiritual materialism. I was a little proud of myself with meditation, and I was a little proud to know it better. So the other
Yeah.
dimension, but so spiritual materialism. If you want to have it, so it's not there any longer. So And I had to give it up, unfortunately. And then they decided, yeah, go. And then I had to study medicine. I said, oh my God, I have no time to do it. Yes, you have time to do it. You should do it. And then I wanted to stop it after when my pa was able to walk again. I had the idea, oh, I don't go to the university any longer. Then my teachers, so they hit me and said, listen, I will cancel your name out of my memory if you do not go back to university tomorrow. So I did. So that was, yeah. And for that reason, I love it. It's a kind of mission. And I love to meet people and to exchange knowledge. Like when we met, it was just joy.
Yeah.
And that was not that we worked. It was just a multidimensional dialogue. And it's also with the children. And if you are able to inspire them, it's really a gift. And if you know it, we have to do it. And every day we are able to learn more, even in this time with Corona. So we talked about the immune system since 35 years because the diagnosis of my pa was multiple sclerosis. So I wanted to know everything about multiple sclerosis and about autoimmune disease. And I do not believe that the system is crazy and that autoimmune disease happened just from the clear sky. No, there's a story behind. It's chronic stress, it's the gut, it's metabolism, and then it's overshooting. And I had the idea that we know a lot, but then we realized we have to learn much more. And for example, there is a famous researcher, Karin Möllin. She developed one of the medications in HIV virus, and she made a lot of things of so transfer of genes, horizontal gene transfer. And she explained a lot so that in the development, we have a natural, very strong immune system. For that reason, we survived. Yeah? We survived millions of years. And so our immune system is great. We forgot how it's like the sixth sense. And now she explained, yeah, in our genes, even the surface of these viruses, corona viruses, is inside our system because it's like to memorize it. And we are brilliant organized. And then we learn much more about the immune system. And then we know, there is the traditional immune system. But then we learned, yeah, the mitochondria are very, very smart organelles who are active in immune response like mitochondrial antiviral signaling. And then we learned, the mitochondria, that's the very fast immune response, but they are able to regulate, to calm down the inflammation. But so if they are hidden, they are not able to calm it down. Then we learned more about how deep the impact of diabetes type 2 and sugar metabolism is in hitting the immune system. So there's a 10-fold higher mortality in people suffering diabetes type 2. So we should clear the system below. And then if the inflammation of metabolism already is there, then the immune system is not able to be active. So we learned more, we met interesting people, and even in Corona times, it's interesting to learn more and to exchange knowledge and then to educate. It's like education. And I love podcasts like you do to spread it, to inspire people to listen and to think about themselves, and then to get active in mindfulness, and then to think about, what do I do? Do I do exercise? What do I eat? And then again, like David Sinclair, that's a nice book to read. So why we age and why we don't have to. Epigenetic reprogramming. So exercise and be a little hungry.
So kind of like, so what would be your like top 3 or top 5 in terms of like improving your immune system or like just general well-being?
So I would care the gut. So natural eating. I would reduce processed food. I would reduce artificial sweeteners and soft drinks. And then maybe to have a probiotics. So if the gut is nice, it's nice to have, but so otherwise to support it. Then, so I would do exercise. And in the beginning, when you asked, I would do it. So minimum 3 times a week, 40 minutes, if possible, if you like, even more. And then I would so do a kind of mindfulness every day, even if it's 3 minutes.
Is that something you're also practicing?
Yes, every day. Yeah, and so In the beginning, you need maybe 20 minutes or 10 minutes. It's nice to have half an hour, but even if it's 3 minutes, you can do that even in your office. It's nice to stop, to calm down, to center yourself. And if you are centered inside yourself, you can do something. Then I would give advice, whatever you like dancing and sports and training and Tai Chi and Qigong and yoga, whatever you like. It helps. It's not just wellness, it helps. And some researchers have shown, yeah, not for accident, it's not just wellness. So it's acting and supporting anti-inflammatory responses. So if you do exercise and Tai Chi and Qigong. And then I would suggest do once a week an empty stomach run. And then maybe intermittent fasting. So maybe have 2 meals so per day, but not 5 meals. And these are some things which are related to the lifestyle. So it's not expensive. You do not have to buy many things.
It's easy. And do you like use or like propose supplements at all, or is that like with a basic like or a healthy universal foods? Is that something you already cover by?
Yeah, unfortunately, so a colleague of mine, he stated, Kurt, I want to measure you. I said, yes, I'm fine. But then I had a deficiency in omega-3. I had not the bad omega-6, but I had not enough omega-3. So I supplemented. Then they realized, oh, there's an insufficiency of amino acids. I said, oh my God. Yeah. So then sometimes I take some amino acids. And then, so after running, so I had my own drink. So I do not take this maltodextrin and all these carbs. So we try to have a galactose, an insulin-resistant monosaccharide, a little ribose, and amino acids, and a little omega-3. That's good.
So you basically say like normal nutrition, and then maybe a blood test to just check if there are any.
And that's it.
Any insufficient.
So that's what you do. Measure it, do the lab, look at it, supplement it, monitoring, and then you see. So it's not a myth. We are able to measure it, and we did it. Now we have 60,000 people in sports we measured. So with amino acid profile, vitamins, minerals inside the erythrocytes, we've seen it, then we supplemented, then we did it again, and we see that it works, how it works, and we are able to calculate it. But we need a monitoring, and we have to measure. And so if people criticize it, yeah, we do not need vitamin D. Yeah, it's not a question of whether we need it or not. We should measure it, but many need it. So, and if we are low, then it's a higher risk for almost everything. So then we should clear it. So for that reason, this time of the year, go out in the woods and then, so not being panicked with the sun cream, but so you should not burn your skin, but you should get a normal dose of vitamin D.
Awesome. Yeah. You mentioned it before that your brother is the philosopher. Yeah. And he also went like from what I understood, like to Tibet to meditate. So I'm really curious, like what's your worldview, or who do you think we are? Like, is there like maybe a larger, like it's a philosophical question, like a larger purpose to our existence? And I'm just throwing it out, like
I would say so. There's the normal world. And with our senses, we are able to describe that world. It does exist. So, but I guarantee it would be crazy if there would not be anything else behind this small part of reality which our senses defined. I don't know what. I don't know how that is, because our kind of reality and concepts, they do not work in the other dimension. But I'm absolutely convinced that there are many other dimensions. Sometimes people try to explain these other dimensions with the words of this dimension, but that does not fit. So I'm curious, but I fully trust, but I don't know how to explain it. So there are some things which we will be interested in future. I asked many shamans, so from Mongolia, Seon Bawai, and then Stephen Gallegos from New Mexico, and Angie Shu Yung Fang, so Qigong master from Beijing. I'm interested in always listening to them, and all of them are absolutely convinced there is another dimension. And it's interesting to look how these things match, and they match somehow.
Well, yeah, thank you very much, Kurt. It was really insightful. I thank you for taking the time and sharing your wisdom, experience with the podcast. I will make sure to share all the resources, information about you, so that everybody who wants to learn more can reach out and read it.
Thank you. And Rainer will give you the link of Myoreflex review. And if people are interested in, so later on, I'm very open to focus, for example, on the muscle or on epigenetics, other fields. I would love to do it. And
there's one thing I want, like, do you have an ask or a suggestion, or like maybe also a question, like the audience, or we should all like be better asking us ourselves in terms of maybe changing the focus, or like something to become more empowered, or maybe words of wisdom?
There's a nice sentence which Sogyal Rinpoche, he's the right hand of Dalai Lama. He wrote the book of Living and Death of Tibetan Medicine. So he had a nice, in a workshop, he said, listen, imagine what would you do to know that you have another 3 days to live? What would you do? And then imagine what would you do if you have 3 weeks? Imagine. And then the other question, what would you stop to do? What is not necessary to do? And then explained, listen, if you find things which you would not continue to do, having 3 or more days or 3 more weeks, you should think about to stop it right now, because it's wasting the time. And then a good friend of mine, he's in a Nobel group of Nobel Prize winner group in Norway with the inner GPS with Moser and Moser. He had a nice question. So, do I have to do it? Or do I think I have to do it? Is it that bad? Or do I think that it is that bad? And that question already helps. That's a nice, these 2 things to think about.
Thank you very much, Kurt. Yeah,
thank you.
It was a true pleasure.
Yeah.